I'm finally back. Welcome to round 2 of the finals of the 2024 AFL season. Sorry if my voice is a little bit scuffed. I am still recovering from a thyroid and chest infection. Anyway, this first clip, there's so much going on. Like, Newcomb gets tackled and the ball fumbles out. Probably should have been holding the ball. Then Impey just completely trips up Frankie Evans and somehow calls for holding the ball. Nothing there from the umpire. And then Mead gets the ball and he kicks it forward to absolutely no one. There's no one in the vicinity and somehow the umpire calls this a throw-in. This should have been insufficient intent. You can see here there is literally no one from Port even close. I have no idea what the umpires were doing this weekend. After McInerney gets the ball, he just bombs it inside the forward 50 hoping for a mark, and Eric Hipwood takes the mark probably 15 metres out. And have a look at the score. The Lions are down by 34 points in the middle of the third quarter, and you think he just has to go back and kick this goal. His team absolutely need this. And then somehow, directly in front, not even hit the post, he just completely misses this kick. I don't know how this happens. After the umpire pays an insufficient intent for Taylor trying to keep the ball in, Joe Danaher, who's a left footer, takes this kick on the left boundary and somehow absolutely slots the goal. And then straight after that, probably only a minute later, he gets the ball inside the forward 50, takes a very strong contested mark and kicks another goal to get the Lions the win. This was probably one of the best comebacks I think I've ever seen in a finals game. Sometimes you've got to give the umpires the benefit of the doubt that they didn't see it or they weren't in the right position, but you can see the boundary umpire is in perfect position. You can see this ball is clearly out. It's not even close to being left in, and somehow this was not called. Just triggered the BT. That was out of bounds! That was out of bounds! I'd like to know your opinions on this one, and remember that I am a Crows fan, so inherently, for some reason, people believe I'm anti-Port, but I believe this shouldn't have been a dangerous tackle. I think Moore's contributed to making it look more dangerous. I feel like he knows the tackle's coming on the side, so he sort of lifted himself and thrown. He's lifted his legs up, in my opinion. I don't think this is a dangerous tackle, and yeah, I don't like this in finals. I think that's way too soft to be considered a dangerous tackle for me. Man, Butters only has one speed. We all know he was extremely injured and you can just see him come in. This is the first quarter, 5 minutes to go, and he's just come in and gone bang. You can see it clearly hurt him because he stayed down for quite a while, but man, wouldn't you just love to have this guy on your team? How Callahan, Taylor or Rayner, neither of them came off for a HIA after all three of them got a head knock in the last 6 minutes of the game is a little bit ridiculous to me. I know the concept of the game, I guess where it was in the game is very important, but you can clearly see that there have been 3 head knocks and Rayner stands up and he's rubbing his head. You can clearly see it. The doctors come out and they're allowed to play on. Like, I don't know. Rules are only rules when the game's not on the line, apparently. And then you get ones like this where Zorko's trying to kick it to McInerney. He's clearly shanked this kick. McInerney's somewhat in the vicinity. The ball bounces out. The umpires paid this one as insufficient intent, even though a player is somewhat nearby. But with the Port one, no one's nearby, but it's a throw-in. Yeah, make it make sense, man. I thought this passage of play was probably a very good example of why Port Adelaide won on the weekend. You can see that the Hawks usually just cut through defences really well, but Port Adelaide were able to hold them up and just make them make several second choices, where instead of giving that first handball, kicking it straight away, they sort of second doubted themselves and weren't able to get any sort of clean footy, and this ended up as a turnover. So well done to Port Adelaide's defence here. They played really well in stopping the Hawks being able to kick 100 plus points, and yeah, in the end Port won. I think this is just one example of why they did win. Again, not a Port supporter, and I think this is probably the perfect tackle. And you see that Charles running away and Lockie Jones wraps him up and tackles him down. The momentum carries them both. It's a high stakes game. You can't be paying a dangerous tackle for something like this. I think Chol lands on his knees first. He has a chance. He tries to kick it, which has obviously changed the momentum of the tackle. And yeah, I mean, his head does hit the ground, I will agree with that, but I think this is probably the perfect legal tackle. Jones has done nothing wrong, and I hate to see this paid as a dangerous tackle. This should have been holding the ball for me. I feel like this is another one that the umpires got wrong. You can see that after Cummings has the ball, Whitfield and Archie run past, which they're allowed to do, and typically the umpire will tell them to clear out, get out of the space. But as he sort of half played on and Archie is actually trailing Whitfield, he's not really with him that close, that Cummings sort of stops and looks at him and says, hey, like, he's in the vicinity, shouldn't that be 50 metres? But instead of resetting, the umpire calls play on and Joe Danaher tackles him, gets a free kick and a goal. I think this is a very poor decision from the umpire. I think he should have said, no, he was too close, reset the kick. He should be able to go back and take a kick as he was awarded without being called for play on when he's barely overstepped the mark and there's players running around him. Just reset the mark, take control of the game, umpire. I feel like this one was an extremely poor controlled game from the umpires. I feel like they lost control, both games really. I thought the umpiring was extremely poor, and I think this is a great example of why the umpires got it wrong. Another example here where Ash gives away a free, and you can see that Dunkley's holding his hands out like, here, give it to me. And the umpire says straight to him. I think he does say Oscar McInerney, but I couldn't quite hear it. And he passes it to Dunkley and then gets paid a 50-metre penalty. I don't understand why a player should be right in front of him saying, come on, give me the ball, and then you get paid a 50-metre penalty for it. I think that's just crap. The umpire just needs to control the game better than that. Or just needs to tell him, give it back to Oscar. Don't give it back to him. To him. Who's him? There's multiple hims on the team, I'm assuming. Got to be more specific than that. Yet again, control the game, number 20. Don't like to single out individual players, but Brent Daniels could have actually cost GWS the game here, realistically. After GWS were paid a free kick, for some reason Brent Daniels tries to soccer the ball as it's rolling away from him outside the centre square. This is not a gimme, this is not an easy goal to kick on your left boot. Anyway, he decides to do it, goes through for a point. The umpire plays play on, and it's only a point, whereas the free kick was going to Jesse Hogan, your key forward. He's got to go back to him, and he 99 out of 100 times is probably going to slot this goal, and then the Lions don't mount that comeback and don't win. So yeah, that's a pretty big lesson to learn there. For some reason, Willem Drew was also trying his best to throw the game. That's a bit tongue-in-cheek, guys. After a ball up has been called, for some reason Willem Drew picks the ball up and takes a shot at goal, even though you can clearly hear the umpires blowing the whistle, and the umpires consider this as time wasting, so it's a free kick to Hawthorn. This was in Port's forward line, and you can see the scores. This was very close, so this is a very, very big brain fade in the last 2 minutes of the game, which could have cost your team the win. How's this individual effort here from Ashcroft? After he breaks one tackle, he eventually finds the ball again, and there's 3 defenders on him trying to hold him up. For some reason, the umpire doesn't blow his whistle that fast. He's able to get the handball over the top, and Lohman kicks a goal. But this was just an absolutely brilliant individual effort there by Ashcroft. And Ashcroft again, he's just an absolute genius with ball in hand. He just somehow finds a way to get ball to boot, ends up with a Cameron goal. This back heel from Sweet was pretty nice. As Lockie Jones bombs the ball inside the forward 50 with only 5 seconds to go, Georgiades tries to take the mark, and it bobbles around a fair bit, and then somehow it just lands in the lap of Willie Rioli, and he kicks a goal. This was probably the best game I've ever seen Willie play. I found this one quite funny. After Hardwick takes a pretty nice contested mark in the defensive 50 for the Hawks, he goes back to kick the ball and kicks it straight into the back of Georgiades' head. And then Darcy Byrne-Jones cleans up with a goal. I've been saying it for a very long time on this channel, but here's another very good reason as why you should keep your feet in a tackle, as Toby Green does this and leads him to kicking a goal. Somehow this wasn't called for holding the ball. I think Toby Green has every right to complain here. The umpire says that you tackled him immediately, but you can see that Ainsworth takes about 3 or 4 steps before he just drops the ball. And yeah, somehow this was not called holding the ball. I think this one's pretty clear. With only a minute 40 left, the Hawks kick it inside the forward 50 and Sicily takes a mark. He goes back to take a shot at goal. He absolutely launches it, but it hits the post, and unfortunately for Hawks, that's the end of the season. The Giants get a steal here from Jones. He kicks it inside the forward 50. Toby Green's not able to take the mark, but everyone's worried about who he's going to handball it to, that he's able to just stand up and kick the goal himself. Horne-Francis receives the ball on the 50. He takes a shot at goal. It's touched anyway, but goes through for a point. And you can see that Impey knows that this is an easy 50-metre penalty. He just goes up to him, just talks a little bit of smack, and Jason Horne-Francis grabs him. I mean, whether Impey flops or not, you just don't need to do this. You just know that Jason Horne-Francis is a hothead. You just have to say a little something to him, and he's going to get angry, rip you to the ground. Easy 50-metre penalty. He's got to be better than this. You can't be giving away 50-metre penalties for stupid stuff like this. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully I can remain healthy and be able to do the next Oddities video a lot sooner than this one. Anyway, I'm trying to get this one out as soon as I can. The secret letter code, whatever we do, is thyroid. Somebody actually suggested that, so thank you very much. That was quite funny. And yeah, leave that word in your comment below. Let's see if we can trick people. Thank you very much for watching. See you next week.